everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's in the Tube, or welcome back if this is your 16th Rookie Season 5 episode review. I want to say we're on 16. I want to say that. I think we are. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe out there. It's funny how we had Valentine's Day last week, early last Tuesday, and this episode is a Valentine's Day episode, a week removed. Again, it could have probably been scheduling that they probably wanted, and they need an extra week for post, or they just wanted to, stockpile more episodes. Who knows exactly why, but it's totally fine. At least this does confirm we are in 2023 in the rookie timeline, I guess. But no, yeah, I'm very happy that we are here, that this is what everyone's been waiting for, a romantic theme episode that honestly had little to do nothing with romantic, which is kind of hilarious. Well, there is the underlining theme of it, there is, but there was so much more of a mass. OMG, this feels like so what's the word? It feels so close to home. Not close to home, let me rephrase that, but it's still very much like it feels similar, and it feels like if we had this type of response in our world, some of the things that would have happened would not have happened. But honestly, this was a great episode, to say the least. It definitely was. More of like a kind of a quiet before the storm, which is ironic considering the fact how very volatile this episode was. But either way, next week's going to be pretty interesting, but we'll talk about that at the end. But until then, let's go for the Butcher recap and talk about this week's episode of The Rookie, the Valentine's Day special, even though it has nothing to do with Valentine's Day. But anyway. So we begin in the morning. It's Valentine's Day, and Lopez and Wesley are beginning their newfound "we are going to be on the constant thread of Elijah for the rest of our lives, aren't we?" trope. They're a little out of sync because, again, when you had a very much of a massive drug leader, a gang leader, a leader of an entire cartel threaten you, you tend not to be safe, really. And, even though they have 24/7 security and everything for the LAPD, Wes is like, let's take the extra step. Let's take the extra initiative to get away from all this. So they decided to hire private security, which to Lopez's idea, it's not the best idea. She doesn't want someone in her house almost all the time while they're trying to have a peaceful, relaxation. But no, apparently that's not the case. It's they assume it's going to be a very hulky, big, sweaty dude. It's actually a very compact, very versatile, very, capable woman who's had plenty of experiences in the forces and is now ready to protect their home. Wesley is working from home today in order to allow her to have some, ease in, as well as she's kind of like a babysitter in a way, which I'm like, that's kind of weird, but okay, it is what it is. Lopez is a little bit discouraged because A, it's Valentine's Day, and B, again, she does not like this scenario. She didn't want private security, but she's here. And so Lopez is like, you know what? I'm going to just go to work and relax about it later. Oh yeah, I forgot the real cold open was, this is what you guys been waiting for. You're probably going to gif about this tomorrow when I'm on Twitter. Chen and Bradford are in bed together. Not doing it. They're just sleeping after, presumably a very rough lovemaking session. I really don't know. I'm not going to get into the semantics over this. Again, I'm still struggling to believe this is actually a thing. Again, if you were to tell 4 years ago me that, oh yeah, these two characters you assume would eventually be together are going to be together, I'm like, I would not believe you whatsoever. I think you're a hack. So they're sleeping in bed together. Chen gets a call from a mysterious number with a very specific code phrase. Then she realizes that it's a UC agent that she bonded with during her time in UC school, and she's there to help poach him out. So she and Chen and Bradford head out to the site. They go extract him. She manages to sell a very pissed off girlfriend cover up very well. So she pulls him out of there. Apparently he was about to get caught and made if he had proceeded forward with his op. So they pull him out, and immediately Jen is very much happy-ish that she got to be back on duty with the UC, because she hasn't really done anything with UCs since she came back from earlier this season. And the guy's like, "Oh, this is the Bradford guy you've been talking to me about." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, I can see why you would eventually finally get in bed with him, so to speak." Also around this time period, around this point, apparently Bradford found out that, Chen managed to do this whole, big elaborate thing to get him in Metro, so he's not quite happy about it. But we'll get to more about that later. We cut to the next day. There's a joint meeting going on with the LAPD as well as the FD department. So that allows, damn, I'm really bad with names today, I apologize, Nolan and Bailey to ride together. Bailey's on the phone trying to argue with, presumably Amazon customer support for a bike she ordered, which never came in. She's struggling to handle the situation. Nolan decides to take the phone and do the usual, I'll handle this, I'll fix the problem, there you go. And she's like, I didn't need your help. I literally did not ask for your help. You didn't have to take my phone from me. You didn't have to do any of this. So please never do that again. And she actually, for the first time, I think this is the first time I actually seen Bailey be mad. And that's weird. We've known her for a good season and more, 2 seasons now. So I'm like, this is not what I was expecting from her. But again, it comes justifiable. Another thing to notice is that also, it's like everyone's getting driven over by with their SOs or by their SOs today. Harper gets driven by her husband, and she's already mad because apparently when they installed the baby monitor, it allowed, if you had certain access to it, you can monitor it yourself as well from your home. And it turns out he gave access to his mom, aka the grandma. She's not happy because she's been kind of seeing very private moments or things that wouldn't have been known otherwise. So Harper is not entirely happy about that. So she definitely not happy with him right now, especially again on Valentine's Day. It seems like today is the day where every established couple has to get into some sort of argument today, because why the heck not? Meanwhile, there was also a so the meeting happens, and so apparently this is in relation to the guy that Chen pulled out last night, that he was he was undercover with a militia group that were planning some pretty big moves lately, and he was supposed to figure out the exact identity of the big movement, but he was fearing for compromise, so he decided to leave. But he does know that they are working with much more dangerous chemicals and in a mobile truck, meaning that they have a mobile drug lab, presumably at this point. So everyone's high alert. That's why they're recruiting FD to help out with any sort of assistance, and and just in case, it's all hands on deck with this issue today. So they're going off to go handle that, just be on patrol, be ready to go if anything does happen. Bradford gets pulled over away because apparently because of his Metro team's not small, even Bradford's like, we need Metro on hand today if anything happens, and we need you first thing. So we're going to put you back on patrol, and once we need Metro, you call them in, and you're priority number 1, which is a fair move, but of course, Bradford did not want to spend the day with Chen today, so that kind of screwed on that front. Meanwhile, I want to say, we're splitting off. Nolan teaches Juarez, this is Valentine's Day as well, one of the busiest days for the LAPD, so be very used to it, that there will be a lot of calls coming in, there will be a lot of issues coming in, so that we're going to have to handle as well. He fills her in about the whole fight with Bailey, and he's like, it'll be fine. We'll be fine. It'll blow over by tonight, and we still have our Valentine's Day plans tomorrow, so we'll be all good. I know that eventually there's a funny little car-to-car debacle, because apparently Lopez blasts everyone, the group chat, that hey, this woman is in my house right now. Should not be here, right? And almost everyone's in agreement, this woman should not be in your house right now, alone with your husband and your child. Please get her away ASAP. But beforehand, there was kind of a pretty serious scene where, and I completely forgot about this from an early episode because it's been that long. Well, not that long, but it's been it's been a long season so far. Because again, it felt like yesterday that we were reviewing the season premiere, and here we are, episode 16. I know right now they're about to start shooting the finale for the season, so I'm like, yeah, damn, it's been very quick. It's been a very quick 5 bumps, to say the least. Anywho, so there was a pretty serious conversation with Juarez and Nolan, that Juarez asked Nolan for a favor, that because she's a rookie, she's not able to access previous case files right now because she doesn't have the clearance for it, and she wants to ask Nolan for a specific file, the file about her sister's kidnapping, then murder. And Nolan's like, absolutely not. You are not ready for this. That is very, not only is that what's the word, or is, I forgot. It's basically like her objections would be unclear. She wouldn't be focusing on solving the case. She would be mostly focusing on the family portion of it. So she would not be in the right mind space to even assist with the case whatsoever. So her getting this in her, like, still in her first, still being a rookie is definitely no go. Plus there are certain pictures there that she was not privy to when she was a child. So having access to them now would definitely be like, no, absolutely not. You are not ready for that. But she's like, I'm going to find out about this case eventually. Either you tell me now, or when I'm eventually AP2, I will get access to those reports and I will read them. Which I'm like, there really should be a clause in all PDs. Like, yeah, if there's a relationship between a current officer and a previous case, they should lock them up, because, again, it is a conflict of interest. It is, oh, that was the word. Yeah, that's what it was. And no one still doesn't believe Juarez would be justified to, like, even solve it, because, again, they tried it years ago and there hasn't been progress since. And she's like, yeah, but maybe there would have been like a racial thing, or maybe just like the technology wasn't there. There's many different avenues. Maybe now reopening back up would make sense. Now, for me personally, I do understand, yeah, that'll probably be a major plot point going forward. They're definitely setting up the season for that now. Will it be this season? I could see that. There's still 6 more episodes left. I could see that, being squeezed in there before the end of the season, just in case. It's similar to Aaron's case last season, where, like, we had the whole, like, was Aaron a murderer, yes or no thing, and that was resolved before the end of the season. Again, in a very weird fashion, how that was solved. I wouldn't be surprised if they do the same thing here, but, definitely they're planting the seed right instead of, like, just having a last minute, realization of, like, yeah, she can't get access to those files. Gray hears it in the entire conversation, not that conversation, but like the whole conversation about, the woman in Lopez's house. And he's like, you know what, Lopez, you are absolutely right. Get this woman out of your house. Meanwhile, Nolan, Juarez, Harper, and Aaron head back to the station right now. We have another situation developing right now that we need you guys on. So they head back, and they're met by none other than the beautiful and lovely Felicia Day. She's back. If you're unaware, she worked for the CDC. She was in season 1. I want to say she was back previously in another season that I probably missed, because I already watched season 1 again, so I know she was in the finale. So she's back for a whole new epidemic. The Ebola is back. Ebola 2, Ebola strikes back, Electroblue, whatever the case might be. Yeah, so apparently there was a flight that just came out of Nigeria. They just confirmed a positive Ebola case there. However, there were a few individuals that were on that flight that sadly got through customs that were not quarantined properly, and now they're loose on the streets of LA. Unlike a certain other virus that many people are now more accustomed to nowadays, it is not airborne, but it can be spread with bodily fluids. So their priority is to go around the entire city and find those 3 individuals before they expose even more people to the Ebola virus. I don't want to say they get a big break in the drug truck case, where someone that's in the militia calls in for 911. He's exposed to something. They go to his location. They find him dead. Like, literally his eyelids, his mouth is like foaming and bleeding. So they fear, like, okay, they're not making drugs. They're building a bomb. They're building, like, basically a gas bomb. So they're like, fuck. Cause, like, this is a whole different, field that, like, they cannot stop right now. So they call it in. They call Lopez back over to take a look at it. Again, this is like, especially Felicia Day's character, because she's like, oh, great, I got to deal with two epidemics in one day. Like, definitely getting her overtime pay over here. So they got to go find it out. But they do have a connection that the sister of this sadly deceased member was part of the militia as well. So hopefully her involvement in her IDing the body, maybe like they could probably trigger something in order to give them a lead. So they call her over. Before I go forward, I forgot to mention that Lopez calls Wesley just to get an update, hopefully just to say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it, I'm just, like, not in the right mind space today. But it doesn't help the fact that her baby's being held by the same lady she's being jealous by. So she's like, nope, not doing this. I gotta go. Bye-bye. So they call over the sister. She IDs the body. Her reaction's kind of, like, mixed. It's, like, it's definitely not what it's expected, but it definitely isn't, like, a cold-hearted, like, okay, he's dead. So as soon as she leaves the area, she calls over one of the other militia members, being mad, like, why is my brother dead? What did you do? And the guy's like, relax. This was all part of the greater good. As many delusional leaders would like to say and speak that, like, yes, once in 30 minutes, we will make our mark. His death would not mean for nothing. And, once we get to Union Station, it'll all be over. And they're like, fuck. So they are under another time crunch. Some other miscellaneous things I forgot to mention before we move on. So in the Ebola storyline, they do find the first guy who's sadly cheating on his wife with another woman, so they have to quarantine them both. The second guy was on a bus. Thankfully, nothing really major happened there. Some guy tried to escape, but Juarez had to taser him before he got away, so that they were able to, like, stun him. And the last guy was at the hospital when he was just about to this was his life-changing moment. Like, I fixed myself. I got a job. I'm ready to be a dad, a good partner to the mother of my child. I'm ready. And then they were like, no. You are going to quarantine. You are going to miss the birth of your son, and you will probably look like a douchebag for a good while. And he's like, damn it. It happens. It happens. Always be careful with your actions. Always be mindful. So yeah, another thing I forgot to mention was that there was, like, before we got to the whole crime scene part with the dead body, there was a little bit of a myth between Bradford and Chen, because again, Bradford found that, like, Chen did all the Metro training so he can get into Metro. At first Chen is, like, viewing this as like, oh, you're just being like a tough guy, like, this isn't how you expected the job, like, you want to earn the job now, like, because a position was open, which honestly is how most jobs gets filled nowadays, but it is what it is. But Bradford's like, I don't need my girlfriend solving my problems, and Chen's like, well, it's not like that, but their conversation gets interrupted. Eventually they do find the driver coming through, so they start rounding out a perimeter, so that works out. I know there was a scene where Juarez is still lying to her mom about, like, being on active duty, that she's just lying, saying, oh, I'm on the beach today, that sort of thing. And she's like, she took so many old photos of her at the beach, which I'm like, wouldn't your mom eventually notice you're wearing the same bathing suit eventually? Unless you're just taking random, like, the traditional, like, feet pics to the ocean with the sand in the background, like that sort of thing. I don't know what the case might be for that, but regardless of how that goes, they corner the guy. It seems like it was. It wasn't that exciting, to be honest. Once they lock down the dude and everything, and he tries to fire at the drone just to ID him and everything. Eventually, they take him down pretty easy. So I'm like, okay, it was a little rushed, to be honest with you. It was just one man, which I'm like, okay, you didn't really get rid of the whole problem. I'm like, yeah, you did save a whole station. So I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm not gonna be too critical about that, to be honest with you. I think, yeah, with the Ebola storyline, I think that was it. I don't really think I've forgotten anything. They quarantined those 3 guys. Pretty self-explanatory. They stopped the militia. Yeah, that's about it. So now we just get to the corny Valentine's Day resolution part. We're like, I forgot his name. Harper's husband comes back to apologize, saying that, yeah, you're right. My grandma shouldn't have access to everything of ours, so I blocked her out. Here are some flowers, very expensive, very. Again, how did you get flowers on Valentine's Day? Like, how? Like, literally, it is the busiest day of the year. You should be. I would be remiss if you found one flower. Now you got a bunch of bouquet. Like, I don't believe that's like my gripe with this episode. Noah manages to also decided to get the file for Juarez, but he will read it for discretionary reasons, so that he can assess if Juarez is actually ready to handle this information, which Juarez does appreciate. And she says, like, I will read this file eventually, and I do hope it is soon rather than later. So that's a good step on that front. Chen talks to Bradford, but does admit, like, yes, while she does understand Bradford's point, she wouldn't have done it anyway regardless, or if anything, if she was even to approach the idea before it happened, Bradford, of course, would have disagreed. And she said, well, I would have basically just transferred myself to another station just to get you your old job back, but now it's all better. We get to be in the same station and still have same hours. So I'm like, what is the big deal? And he's like, I get it. I understand. It is what it is. So he accepts her non-apology, and, like, he gives her, like, a very beautiful necklace to commemorate their first Valentine's Day together. And, like, I know the Chenford fans are gonna freaking use this for the rest of their lives, but it is sweet, it is thoughtful. So that is all good to say. Lopez arrives back home. Wesley apologizes for, like, doing all this, but Lopez is like, yeah, I'm not really mad about the whole security guard thing. It's just the fact that we're constantly, I'm pregnant. We're living under threat always, and I can't. This is not the life that was pictured, but, like, it is what it is. And so I like to make even more complicated things. Elijah does send a heart container filled with dead flowers, indicating, like, yeah, he's still after them at some point. Which I'm like, damn, that's gonna be an interesting bout, to say the least. I think, yeah, the last scene was no one returns home. he and Bailey manages to patch things up, saying that, like, yeah, this was our first real fight, and you know, honestly, we could have handled that way better. And he's like, of course, and you know, again, you know, no one being no one, he does become. They both, and this is why they're such a great couple. They talk about it, and they're like, yeah, we both made a mistake. We have to work on it, otherwise, you know, what is the point of being in a relationship? So like, thankfully, they're good. And it's like, you know, that's honestly great. That's really great. And you know, even like, no, he's cooking, right? She's cooking. I know you're like horny for your fiance, but like still, like, she's cooking. Your food's gonna burn. So I'm like, I don't need your house to burn down. I don't need another Nolan construction episode. Actually, we never got one. Now I want a Nolan construction episode, damn it. But yeah, that was it for this week's episode of The Rookie, because I think that was it. I think I covered all my bases right there and there. So for me, in terms of the Valentine's Day special, yeah, they did weave in some romantic disagreements, but it wasn't really a full blown out Valentine's Day episode like it was happening during a Valentine's Day dinner or anything. Like, that didn't happen, which I'm like, that's fine. I really don't. The fact that we dealt with like 2 major outbreaks in one episode kind of like, again, reminds me of COVID. And again, if we were literally on top of this with a competent, you know, on the margin people with, I mean, and this is just not just me as an American, I mean, everyone around the world, we could have avoided that. But anywho. It is what it is. It was nice to see Felicia Day again in a very limited capacity. It was always nice to see her face. She was on Supernatural a lot when I was binging that series about a few years ago. So it was great to see her again. All the storylines hit, you know, again, like, you know, just the fear of, like, you know, just anything can happen at a certain point. Like, you know, there's, you know, is an argument really worth, like, you know, like distracting things and, you know, like of your development of your bond and all that sort. So that was all great to see. And again, I know Chenford fans, you got another win of some sort. You got that romantic Valentine's Day-ish moment. I hope that was great. Also, I do hope they do come back with the Lucy undercover stuff, because like, again, it feels like something like, I said this in the end of season 3. They should have really done a time jump, but they didn't. So I'm like, okay, it is what it is at that point. It is what it is. But of course, obviously, that being lurking in the background would definitely provide another challenge for the Chenford Chenford honeymoon stage right now. It would definitely create some discord, which is honestly what I want to see. Nothing's ever going to be smooth sailing, so I do want to see that going forward, but we'll see how it is. But I'm going to give this episode 2 thumbs up. I really enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below, what did you think of this week's episode of The Rookie? Let's have a conversation, as always, down below. And I believe that's going to do for me today, everyone. So if you're unaware, this has been What's the 2 from ActionX, reviewing every episode in the 5th season of The Rookie. If you want to know what we're doing normally, What's the 2 besides our Rookie episode reviews, we're currently doing Feds episode reviews, Walker episode reviews, and Walker Independence episode reviews each and every week after brand new episodes on their respective viewing nights. However, if you don't care about The Rookie, you're in luck. We'll be back next week with another crossover event. That's right. Once again, LAPD, the Feds crossing over. This time, Elijah. Like, this is going to be a big one. This is going to be a big one. Will it actually be a big one? I really don't know. But we'll see what happens. We'll see. You know, definitely it's going to be interesting to say the least. You know, after last week's episode where it was like, again, that felt more of like it definitely was sewing in like the Feds more often into that case. So I'm like, I can't wait to see more of that going forward. And we will get more of that hopefully next week. So I'm excited to say the least. So again, we will be back for another crossover event review next week. I can't wait for that. But again, please subscribe down below if you have not. Like, favorite, share if you want to. Ring the bell for notifications. And, of course, follow social media. But until we see each other again, for all you members of the Rookie Nation out there, I'll see y'all next week for the crossover event. But until then, stay safe out there. Be good to each other. And as always, peace out.